Hello everyone, this is Team 9. Until last week, we looked about the pre-construction considerations of Hanyang Sujain River Pine apartment. Now, we are going to look about the construction process of it. In order to find out how the apartment is built in earnest, we need to know how the apartment is built in general. First of all, if the site is empty, we can start right away. But if there is an existing building on the site, we have to start by demolishing it from the top to the basement. Next one is boundary and geological survey. It is necessary to clarify the boundaries of the land and investigate the types of geology through drilling. Next is excavation and earth retaining. We have to prevent the soil from collapsing by earth retaining construction and dig into the ground to go underground. Next is framing work. In addition to the bearing capacity that we mentioned last time, construction is carried out through various tests. We create the overall structure through reinforcing bars and concrete depositing. Lastly, the finishing work. This is the stage of finishing the apartment using various finishing materials. Then this week, let's look at the first step of the basic construction process of the apartment as we mentioned above, the foundation work. First, the process of compacting the ground is required. When the ground is compacted, the soil must be excavated to provide space for the foundation of the building. In this process, the soil around the site is likely to collapse. Then, what are some ways to prevent it? The answer is earth retaining wall. Earth retaining refers to walls that support earth pressure and water pressure, which are made for the purpose of preventing settlement or collapse of the surrounding ground when excavating the ground. The earth retaining wall must have a structure that is safe against the lateral pressure acting during construction and need to have sufficient strength and rigidity to prevent collapse of excessive deformation of the site of the ground digging. If the earth retaining method is not selected in an appropriate way for the site, it will collapse. Since the collapse of earth retaining walls cause a major problem in construction, it is necessary to select a construction method by clearly grasping the ground information. The following reference is about considerations when selecting the earth retaining method. Largely, there are matters related to the identification of design purpose, review of topography, soil conditions of the ground which will be excavated, condition of adjacent structures, construction environment, and process. Each consideration has detailed items as the reference show. In our site, we need to select an appropriate earth retaining method in consideration of geographical features such as Gyeomdaesan Mountain and ground level differences, groundwater flow, and subway movement from Dosim Station right next to it as we mentioned last week. Classification of earth retaining wall includes H-pile soil plate method, sheet pile method, CIP joint wall method, slurry wall method, etc. Classification of support method includes self-supporting method, strut method, earth anchor method, top-down method, etc. Then, how did the construction methods be applied in our site?
Let's look at the construction site map. Where is the important place to look at in the construction of the earth retaining wall here? It's here, where there's a risk of landslides in contact with Gyeomdaesan Mountain. As you can see, the earth retaining method used here is the H-pile soil plate method. This method is generally used, and it is a method to type H-piles at appropriate intervals according to the geology and excavation depth, and install wooden soil boards between H-piles according to excavation progress. The way to support this earth retaining wall is the earth anchor. The earth anchor method, which is generally used, is a method of drilling an earth retaining wall instead of a brace, inserting tensile materials such as steel wires into it, grouting with mortar around it, hardening it, and then applying tensile force from the outside. Earth anchor is also called a removal anchor because it is usually removed when it has done its job. As you can see in the video, you can see the earth retaining wall consisting of the H-pile and soil plate and the earth anchor that supports it. However, there is a part that needs reinforcement because of the most concentrated stress of the landslide. It's right here. Due to the concentrated stress, the risk of landslide is the greatest, so the earth retaining wall has not been removed to prevent existing landslide. But this is where the problem arises. The foundation plate of the existing retaining wall interferes with the structure in which the underground parking lot we will build will be built. So we cut off half of the existing foundation plate, but because of it, the retaining wall become unstable. To solve this problem, we use CIP joint wall method instead of the existing H-pile soil plate method under the retaining wall. Also, we connected the CIP joint wall with the foundation plate of the cut retaining wall to integrate it so that it could serve as one big CIP. So, what's the CIP joint wall method? CIP joint wall method is a method of drilling with earth drill and earth auger to a predetermined depth, pouring mortar or concrete into the hole, and then inserting a steel frame or reinforced mesh to create a connected concrete roll wall and using it as an earth wall. The CIP joint wall method forms a wall by connecting and installing concrete piles underground before excavation. The friction between these concrete piles and the surrounding ground increases, which increases the supporting force compared to other methods. Also, compared to the H-pile soil plate method, the wall stiffness is bigger, and it has the advantage of not being regarded to the ground condition. These advantages are the reason why the CIP joint wall method was used for reinforcement. Moreover, we made the earth anchor of the existing retaining wall into two stages for an additional support. However, this alone could not be the solution of elimination of the fear of landslide. Over time, the structure will rise away from the CIP. We need to perform a backfilling work. Backfilling is the work of filling up the soil and restoring it to its original state after the construction of an extra dug part for underground structure construction. However, because it will take 5 to 6 months for the structure to come up and performing a backfilling work, concerns about landslide still remain. Therefore, the underground parking lot construction is carried out closely to the CIP, and that CIP change section becomes a joint wall. In conclusion, a structure in which the underground parking lot and the earth anchor support both at the same time is completed. Finally, the construction of the earth retaining wall formed along Kumdaesan Mountain is completed. But this is not the end. It's because the earth retaining wall is necessary in all parts along the construction site. We'll look over the other parts of the earth retaining wall that weren't mentioned today in next week. Thank you for watching.